Another edition here of Getting There with Goss, where we talk about the career journeys of athletes, coaches, business owners, media members, and more from upstate New York. It is March. You had a feeling this guy's face might pop up when we're talking about March Madness in the capital region in upstate New York. Ronald Moore joins us. And Ronald, for those who may not know your story, maybe some people listening outside of the capital region, take us back to a younger version of you, 6, 7, 8 years old. Where'd you grow up and what'd you want to be as a kid?
Oh man, I'm first I want to say thank you for having me. It's definitely a pleasure being here. A little bit about myself. I'm from the Philadelphia area. 6 or 7, you say. I don't know if I was even playing basketball at that time, but definitely ran in my family with my older brother playing, uncles playing. So it was always around me. So always kind of watching the game, even though I might not have been playing at that young age. Basketball was always around me, near to me, and dear to me, I guess you could say.
Yeah, yeah. So when did you start picking up the basket? When did you start playing and realizing like maybe this sport might take me farther than I ever could have imagined?
Well, definitely never thought it would take me as far as it did until, I mean, I guess the moment really kind of presented itself, to be honest. I kind of always took it one step at a time. My next goal, whether it was, play high school basketball, play varsity basketball, make it to college. And then, obviously once being in college, start hearing the buzz and thinking that professional is actually a real opportunity. So obviously every kid says, they dream of playing the NBA. I just loved the game, to be honest, and kind of was just willing to take it as far as it was going to take me.
So let's go through that recruiting process. You have a strange, unique, weird, whatever way you want to describe it, your story of how Siena started recruiting you. Take us through it, how Coach Fran McCaffrey discovered you.
Well, I always thank my high school coach because he was a guy that believed in his players and always is willing to put the foot forward to kind of help those guys get to where they wanted to be. And I think he emailed out to a number of schools. I think I was might have been on their radar as well. But being though Coach McCaffrey is from the Philadelphia area, him kind of tending to visit to whether it's family and friends makes it a little bit convenient to stop by to catch a Plymouth White Marsh High School game where I went to high school. But the funny story always goes to me meeting him prior to the game, where his mom lives 2 blocks down from a family friend of ours, which I just so happened to be visiting the same day of the game. And me and Coach actually leaving the house, him from his mom's, me from the family friends, running into each other. So I didn't even know he was, coming down to see me play. But the family friend knows, Fran's mom and was like, "Hey, Fran, what you doing in town?" And he's like, "I'm here to catch your game." He's like, "I'm actually here to, come see him play." So put the pressure on me early, and I think I did a good job of stepping up to the case and putting on a good show for him to willing to offer me right after the game.
I was going to say, once you find out not only is the coach there, but the coach is there to see you, the pressure, like you said, you embraced it. And sure enough, good enough performance, and the offer is coming from the capital region.
For sure, for sure. And at that time it was kind of, I want to say it was in December, so it was kind of late in the not late, but late to be kind of not committed per se during that time. Everybody, I feel like now commits at an early age, but I didn't really fully commit to seeing it until I want to say in January, which back then I guess you could say was a fairly late commitment. But a couple teams have been coming to watch me play, and so I kind of started getting used to knowing there's somebody in the crowd and put my best foot forward, no matter what.
So that quick turnaround from December to January. So did you never visit the campus? Did you
I
just
I did
decide?
I did. So I think I want to say it was like early December he came. I was able to get up there for an official visit during winter break. So nobody was on campus. So I didn't really get to experience what the life would be like on campus. But it was a great group of guys. Tate Fisher and Kenny Hasbrook being the guys to really kind of host me, along with Mike Haddix, who was there. Just great group of guys, and just knowing that the recruiting class that was coming in with me was also pretty talented, and that we could potentially do some big things.
One of my favorite things to ask athletes is that first day in college, whether it be a summer workout, a practice, whatever it might be. Was there a okay, welcome to Division One athletics, welcome to college moment for you that first season?
I'm trying to think. Well, it's funny too because I don't know if they still do it this time, but even I started, I guess you could say, school prior to other freshmen because once you commit that summer going into college, they have the kids, us come up and take a summer course, kind of get acclimated to try to get ahead a little bit, just because during the season you can have a heavy workload if you got if you're taking 5 or 6 courses in the middle of the season. So we can kind of offset that by taking 1 or 2 in the summer to make it a lighter load during the season. That's always beneficial. But yeah, I guess it was kind of the practice, going through conditioning. Never really going through a conditioning workout prior, high school. It's nothing strenuous, but kind of getting there and going through. I'm like, okay, now it's a different level.
No, wait a second. Wait a second. The conditioning workout, because people know this for sure. Look, you might have done some type of physical activity in practice or whatever else, right? Right. But it's more about, and maybe I don't want to put words in your mouth, but that stuff is more mental than physical because you want to know when
For,
the last rep is and when it's going to end and how
for
hard this is
sure.
going to get. So you felt it then. It was more mental than physical doing the conditioning.
Yeah, for sure. I think it was, even just the weight training. It was combined of just, lifting and then going on the court doing the conditioning. And it's like, I always felt as though I was a player that was in shape, but to play at a high level, playing at that pace, you definitely got to really be in shape, especially if you can play in major minutes, as I did for a good portion of my career.
You did play some major minutes. I don't want to skip over your freshman year, but I feel like so many stories are going to come from a little further in your career, and in particular, that 2007 2008 year when we
Hmm.
start talking about Siena becoming an NCAA tournament team and a few times, right? Like, so take
For
us through
sure.
that 2008 season in particular and how you guys are able to punch that ticket to March Madness.
I really think it comes from that freshman year coming up short in the MAC championship game against a very good Niagara team. Um, I probably they just gave us, a chip on our shoulders, and we kind of knew what it takes to get there. But now we're kind of prepared for when that moment comes again. So uh, I can't remember who we played in the championship my sophomore year, but I know every year in the MAC tournament was always interesting games. Always, whether we were down and coming back, or some type of heroics needed to be done. Winding down in those closing minutes to really seal the deal, which made it just a fun atmosphere. And again, just having us used to those close situations and pressure situations, and really arising to the occasion almost every time.
You win that championship for the league in 2008, and you're off to the NCAA tournament. Before we get to that round of 64 game, take us through that prep for the NCAA tournament. So many young college basketball players, that might be the goal, especially when you and I are taping here in March of 2022.
For
Everyone's going to
sure.
be watching the games and hoping that one day they get to play in the big tournament. Before tip off, what was the emotions like, and what was that feel prepping for a huge game?
Man, I don't even know if I've even told this story before, but definitely that selection Sunday, it was definitely like a WTF moment, man. I definitely I shed a tear. I haven't told Mitty that. It's just everybody knows selection Sunday, and the media is there. Everybody's sitting there rating where you're gonna play, who you're gonna play against, and to actually be doing that and going through that was really exciting. Simply because my brother who went to Vanderbilt. Um, he went to Seton first, and then went to Vanderbilt. Never got that experience, so it was one up on Big Bro. And even though my brother was definitely my hero, my idol growing up, to finally have a one up on him in the basketball world was definitely a cherishable moment for me. And to be playing against his alma mater, it was one even better. So it was exciting, man. Not just for me, just for the guys, just because all the hard work we put into again coming up short the year before, and finally having that moment, not just for us, but for for Siena, Uptown, the capital region, man. There's so much support, so you just felt the energy around the town. It was amazing.
Well, you get to add one more to your brother, too, because you beat that Vanderbilt team in one of the big
Yes,
upsets of that 2008 tournament. The emotions in a game, too, especially when you are, whatever term we want to use, the underdog, the Cinderella in a game. The crowd in particular during the NCAA tournament, you
they
can
cheer for you
feel, right? They cheer
for
for
sure.
you.
And it's funny that year in Tampa, it was called Upset City simply because every low seed beat the high seed with us, Nova. Uh, I want to say it was a red team. I can't remember off the top of my head, but all the lower seeds won, and they called it Upset City. And even though I don't think Nova was necessarily a low seed per se, being though they had just a tough Big East schedule, and And so I think they were definitely more prepared than we were for those kind of games.
As exciting as the game was, as well as you played in that game, what was the locker room like when you pull off that upset?
Oh man, not just the locker room, just even afterwards, because the whole hotel was just Siena itself. It was green and yellow, green and gold balloons. The band is there, the cheerleaders there, all our parents, all the fans, all stayed in one hotel. So coming back, it was just celebration on celebration. That we won our first game.
Even though you're able to win that first game, the ride ends quick. The celebration is there, and all of a sudden, the sights start to turn to the 2009 season. When you win the NCAA tournament, when you win your conference tournament, was there extra pressure on you in particular heading into that junior season now?
I don't think so. If you ask my guys that are on that team, man, I was kind of just the one that just the confidence was just there, and I was just leading it for everybody else. I was even anything if it was pressure there, I was the one that was adding it to it even more. Just because I felt that we had a good group of guys, we were talented. Um, I know we knew what it took to get there, and I believe that we had so much more to give. So I was even predicting, I want to say going to my junior year, Sweet 16 and making it known at the before the season. So it was fun times, man. My teammates, they loved that about me, and they played off that energy, and I think that helped us, win a lot of games.
You win a lot of games. You win the MAC championship again, second time in a row.
For
The
sure,
sweeter feeling, man, because now you guys, you called your shot. You said, we're the team to beat. We got to go
for,
out
s-
and do it. And sure enough, you
for,
guys go out and did it.
for sure, and Coach Mack always again he was a confident guy as well, and he would let us in on time, especially when we were setting up our non-conference games, because I think that year our PI was, I want to say, top five, because we played Memphis, we played at Kansas, we played a lot of top schools um, that year, and a lot of teams were even scared to play us early on in the season just because they didn't want to take that early loss from a mid-major such as ourselves. So we were confident, man. We were rolling off that, we were feeding off that, and even the new guys, freshmen coming in, were buying into that energy we were going with. So we bought into that mentality, man, and I think that it really just drove us because we competed every day at practice, um, in-house fighting and so. But it always was just to make us better.
That in-house fighting you're talking about, that's just competition. That's just guys
Oh yeah,
pushing themselves. That's just teammates. That's on the court stuff and not personal stuff. It's you weren't in the era where social media and people cared about what they were posting on Instagram. You guys just cared about what happened on the court.
exactly, and that's now that I'm on the other side of basketball, trying to kind of coach the future generation, try to get that grit and that toughness back into it, and start working about I think everybody tries to play to look good versus, just going out there and play to get the job done. You know what I mean? So I really love the kids that just got that grit. They're playing hard. Even if they don't have all the talent in the world, I try to tell these kids by playing hard, you can beat talent that doesn't work hard, 9 times out of 10. So I think, the youth of the game is kind of missing that a lot. And hopefully I could be a staple in bringing that back, at least in the area that I'm in now.
No, for sure. And I think that 2008, 2009 team, your junior season, is what you talked about. Grind, grit, tough,
For,
not flashy, not going to
for
be on the
sure.
highlights, but just going to beat teams. And because of that performance and your teammates and your coaching staff, you guys are sitting on Selection Sunday in 2009. You guys get a higher seed. Now you get the 8-9 game in comparison to that 4-13 game. It's, the 8-9 is a coin flip. It's a 50-50. They're telling you you're
For
on the
sure.
same level as Ohio State, and we get one of the great NCAA round of 64 games the last 15 years.
For
Uh,
sure.
you already know what the end of this is going to be, so we'll just start at the beginning. Take us through the emotions of that game because it was so tight, truly a classic back and forth where I know coaches tell you this all the time, and you as a coach now know this. It felt like every possession truly mattered in that matchup.
It definitely does, especially when you're playing with guys who obviously went first round with Evan Turner and uh, I forgot the big fella's name, 7-footer who also got drafted, um, and even just the young guys that were on that team too that ended up having amazing professional careers with so much talent on that team. And again, like you said, with them matching us up, they just let you know that obviously they felt as though we were on the same caliber uh, as them, and we were playing in our own backyard, which made it even more exciting, So again, having been there before, I think definitely helped with us, calming our nerves early on and knowing we gotta go out there and, like you said, every possession matters and take care of business.
13 years. You probably get asked constantly about this. Hopefully, it's not getting old for you yet, because I'll just add my name to the list of people who have asked Ronald more about these two shots. First, for the one in.
Hasbrook heads to the right corner. The jumper from Moore. Oh, yes! Wow! 2 to go. Here's Diebler, pump fake, got the buzzer. No! How good is it? How good is it?
Okay. Well, obviously, even if you listen to the commentators and my guy Rafferty himself, the play was drawn up for Kenny going to the corner, and I think they, clearly probably stated that in the huddle, you know, to watch out for Kenny. So they quickly took that away, and just a quick read and instincts, man, and making a play. To be honest, it's not a shot that I haven't done many times before. Summer in summer hoops, because we always joke about our summer runs at Siena because guys get, I guess you could say, a little bit more freedom. Obviously when we play in season, it's a little bit more structured on what we need to do. So even Ryan Rossiter, I always would get on him because Ryan had a great shot that he would knock down consistently in summer hoops. But when it came to in season play, he was very reluctant to shoot a three ball because I think he was worried if he missed, Coach Mack might have one of his moments on him. So again, it wasn't a shot that I never haven't taken before. So I think that my guys trusted me, to make that play and to make that read. If it wasn't there, go ahead and take the shot.
Let them play. Ubilis, 7 seconds to go. 3-pointer. Oh, Hudgens! Double order! For the second time in the second overtime, Ronald Moore cans a 3. Garden variety. The little guy knocking him down big time.
Bill Rafferty, they just heard the call. Onions, double order. All right, man. I'm sure you're still walking to the streets and getting that. Take us through shot number 2 and how you joined March Madness lore.
Oh man, that's all kudos to my 4-year roommate, man, Edwin Uberlees. We've had a bond obviously from freshman year all the way through my senior year, and that was all just him making a play and making an unselfish play because I feel like he easily could have, after the pump fake, attacked the basket and does what he does best, or hit his pull up jump shot, which he was very good at. But he found me, seeing I was open, made the unselfish play, and luck struck that I was in the exact same spot, so just put up the exact same shot and went in.
You know how different it would have been in 2022 comparison to 2009? You probably would have gone back to your
Yeah.
phone. Your phone would have lit up on Twitter. That would have had a
It's
million views on social media, Instagram, right? All that stuff.
I mean, my phone. I had a BlackBerry at that time, and it was blowing up. I obviously there's no screenshots or anything that I can go back and check, but Facebook obviously was a big thing there. So I had a bunch of random friend requests on Facebook. So that was kind of I guess what would be, like you said, now it would have been definitely something that went viral. I just heard from all my friends from back from high school and family, friends. My parents even heard from family members and friends they haven't talked to in years because we were the late game that night. So it was pretty much, we really were the only thing left to watch. So all eyes was really on that game.
I remember watching very well. I think I've told you this before on the radio side that shout out to my buddy Aaron Higgins. I remember being at the house in Syracuse and we were going ballistic for you, thinking, all right, they're 2 hours east, but we all need this for our bracket, man. We all had Siena.
Yeah.
So, even if you're not a Siena fan, you may have become a Siena fan that night because of the brackets and
For
the great
sure.
game and everything else, man. So, yeah,
For sure.
another great run. All those great things happen. Then we go to 2010, man. It's your senior year, and even though you've had some great moments, things are a little bit different your senior year. I think is the best way to set that up.
No, for sure. I think that again, I think we definitely still had a successful year, but now it's kind of, in my opinion, everybody has those thoughts about life after life after college, playing professional. So do I think we like I said, I don't want to put out this image that, guys are out for themselves, but I just think that, there were some distractions too at certain moments. It wasn't as laser focused as we used to be over those course of those years, because now, post Siena is a real possibility for a lot of us, and just taking care of ourselves and making sure that now it's kind of a different pressure, because now I guess you could say money's on the line. Our futures is on the line. So because some games where we came up short where we shouldn't have, um, and that's just the way the cookie crumbles, I guess you could say.
No, I think it's a fair way to put it, because especially the comparison of mid-majors, I keep bringing up the timeline of when it was, but I think that's really fair for the context of younger listeners in particular, where 2008, 9, 10, although it's only 10 years ago, how different the evaluations are, and the expansion of the
For
G
sure.
League, and like all this stuff is so different 10 years ago. And it's not to make you and I feel old, it's that the way in which
Yeah,
we watch basketball and how it changes, especially for the stage you were on, changes for everybody. And that's okay.
for
That's
sure.
healthy. That's competition. That's all good stuff.
For sure.
For those who maybe not know about your post Siena career, take us to your first opportunity to become a professional basketball player overseas.
Oh man, it's definitely an experience for sure. I ended up signing my first year contract in Slovakia, which obviously is a country I knew nothing about. Uh, I didn't know where it was at on the map. I've heard of it, obviously learned about, all these different countries in Europe, but no real background. So kind of just going in there, not really knowing what to expect. Um, and it wasn't really talked about, guys going to Europe and playing basketball. So even if the guys who were playing, I didn't really know of those guys very well to reach out to be like, hey, what to expect, what's going on, so forth and so on. Where now I think a lot of guys have tons of information to know what to expect before going over there. So definitely was an experience. I'll admit I even thought about coming home halfway through the season. But thank God, I had a dad who was, like, hey, you start something, you got to finish it. And it ended up being a blessing in disguise, because it trickled on to be a 11-year career.
The reason you wanted to come home, was it because just a culture shock, because it was the
Yeah, I think
competition level, a little bit mix of both? And yeah.
really just a culture shock, to be honest. Basketball for me is basketball. I'm always up for competition and trying to play at the highest level. So really, it was just a culture shock, being homesick. Um, and obviously, even then there was no Instagram. I say this to guys now, when I was me being one of the older guys on the teams the last couple of years, when I had young guys, and like, hey, there was no Apple TV, there was no Netflix, all these things now that really make you still feel at home even when you're away from home. I'm literally going to cafe shops, you know, to talk to people on Skype or wherever the case might be. It wasn't. It was you're a little bit more cut off from the world than you are today.
No, for sure. And Slovakia is the first country. Take us to around the world. I had a funny graphic I was going to write, Ronald around the world. I decided not to do that. Just take us to the other countries, man, that you end up playing in.
Yeah. So after Slovakia, I signed in Poland, which was a great job coming from Slovakia, because we played in the EuroLeague qualifications, which is the highest level in Europe, and the highest league outside of the NBA, in my opinion. And I think many people view that the same thing. Didn't make it, but played against some NBA caliber players. Drawing a blank on some names right now. But then we played Euro Cup, which is again very high level in Europe. Uh, so that was a great experience. And from there, I went to Ukraine, which is sidebar. It's kind of funny because I left Ukraine earlier, similar to the same events that are happening now. They obviously didn't escalate to as big as it is now, but I left there. Um, oh, did I skip a country? I might have skipped some. Hold on, I went to Slovakia. Sorry, I went to Slovakia, Poland, then I went to Hungary. Sorry, uh, I went to Hungary for the first time, and then after Hungary, I went to Ukraine. And again, like I said, I left Ukraine early, landed in Italy, and then that was just love at first sight. Because once I got there, it was like, I don't think I'm leaving here. The culture, the food, and everything in between. I was there for the next 5.5 years. So I
I'm
finally
glad.
decided to. No, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm glad you left off Hungary just for the fact that it proved my point of what I was hoping to have happen there is that you played so much professional basketball around the world. It was hard to remember actually in the
Yeah,
world where you lived. And you were about to
for
finish off
sure.
with Italy there, like for 5.5 years. You fell in love with it for everything.
Fell in love
Go
with
ahead with
for
why you love Italy. Yeah.
Yeah, so like I said, I was fortunate enough to play in the South, play in up north, um, played in Florence, which is obviously I guess you could say the kind of the middle. So it's all different cultures, different aspects of Italy, which I loved, and again, family members and friends were more willing to travel to Italy as well, which made it a little bit easier because now I have some visitors to make my time away from home, not seem so bad. But after that, I went to France, and I loved France too. I actually wanted to stay there, but that's when COVID, the pandemic hit, cutting that season short in March. And then again, wasn't sure if I was going to continue playing basketball then, just because it's a weird time with the pandemic happening and COVID. Playing without fans, but I decided to uh, go ahead and play for one more season, which started out in Croatia, uh, which was a beautiful country, but didn't really feel at that point in my career I kind of know where I wanted to be, kind of the style of play I wanted to play. So I wasn't really happy there, and ended up leaving and went back to Hungary and to finish my career. Pretty much finish my career this past season
All right, so I got to follow up there because there's a lot to that. So
for
if you
sure.
think if you think COVID doesn't hit, do you think it's potentially 3 or 4 more years you got in your career, or you knew kind of timeline wise, this is my age I want to hit, this is my ability, I'm getting out in 2020, 2021 ish.
To be honest, I think that if COVID didn't hit, I probably would have played an additional year for sure, maybe two. Simply like I said, going to France, I really did enjoy France. So I kind of envisioned doing kind of the same thing as I did in Italy, kind of playing in different parts of France and uh, making it again a home away from home. 'Cause I think it was a very professional league, great talent, and I enjoyed the competition. So the drive was still there. But I think the pandemic kind of changed a lot for me. That was the longest I've been home, coming home in March. So I got comfortable being at home. A lot of things obviously I wasn't accessible to. So working out on a daily basis during COVID in the gym and so forth. So I kind of got used to being home. So even just gearing up to go back for that year, this past season, was a lot of work. And again, once getting back over here, no playing in front of no fans, and that was kind of you take out the fans in basketball or any professional sport, makes it difficult to get up for games day in and day out.
For sure. It feels like a different sport you're playing. It feels like a different level that you're playing at. And I think for some maybe fans who are not as familiar with overseas basketball, just to add for some perspective here, your teammates, how often on some of these teams is it limited to how many American players are on the roster?
Uh,
Is it
yeah, every country rules is different. In Italy, it was five foreigners, so it could be just anybody that's not from Italy. Most of the time, it usually ends up being five Americans. But Croatia, I believe it was only allowed three foreigners. So every country is different on how many foreigners you can get. And when I was in Croatia, I was the only American, so it made it even more difficult to, just the day in, day out. Obviously these guys are from the country, they go do their own thing. So, and trying to do all this during COVID, makes it, 10 times harder, getting tested every other day. It's a lockdown happening every other week. So, majority of the time, I'm just spending my time in the apartment and at the gym if we're not traveling. So, it just didn't make it as fun as it used to be, which kind of made me mind like, hey, maybe this might be the end here.
all right? So you hinted at it there a little bit. The graphic says retirement question mark. So I'll leave that
Yeah,
there. So technically you are retired. I don't know if here you're going to announce your official retirement, but I feel like you're every other athlete. You feel like you're ready to go, and if the offer comes, you go out and ball.
no, for sure. No, I definitely officially have hung them up. I've had a few offers over the past couple months, and some obviously that actually intrigued me, but it was uh, I just knew that it was time. Obviously, like we talked off offline here with having kids now, having two and the wife, and I started up, other businesses, over the last 2 years prior to me actually officially retiring, that I can finally be officially full-time hands-on and keep growing those.
Well, let's talk about them. Let's talk about the businesses. I think I see out there on social media you're doing a little coaching as well. What's a day in the life now like for Ronald Moore?
Man, it's still basketball 24/7, to be honest, with a little side of real estate. So my brother and I created our own, I guess you could say, basketball business with training kids and having camps and clinics. And we even started up our own AAU team over the last year, which really started off with a great success. Man, people in the area, really look to us as far as basketball guidance goes. So we take that with tremendous pride and try to help these kids, go as far as they could possibly can in the sport. And so much other stuff that basketball brings, not only just the stuff on the court, but the relationships off the court as well. I met so many people through this game that really just helped me along the way in every aspect of of life, to be honest, and lifelong friends. Um, and then on the real estate side, they say you can never go wrong with real estate. So the money that I did make, I bought a number of properties and continuously looking for good deals to keep scaling up, and that's kind of, I guess you could say, my newfound love is the real estate world. Even though it's another, again, it's competitive too in its own way, and it's some life learn lessons along that way as well. So constantly learning, man, and in all aspects of life, and that's kind of what I like about this post retirement life so far.
Yeah, getting to talk to you now in an extended format. I had a feeling competition was going to come back into your life at some point. So, yeah, I had a feeling a lot of those things you just said there make sense post basketball. And you gave me a perfect segue. We close these Getting There with God's interviews because it's the journey, that career journey for whatever you do, media members, coaches, athletes, business owners. And the best part about this is to offer up to somebody young who's aspiring to be maybe where you are in your life now post basketball, but especially for young basketball players who might hear this. Who knows? Maybe they're listening to the capital region, they're listening in Philly. What's the best advice you can give a young basketball player now to reach where you did in your journey?
Oh man, I think to just don't go half, 50% of this, man. I definitely think just give it your all, give it your 100%. I think looking back now that my career is over, um, I'm content, I'm happy, just because I know that I've left no stone unturned. I put all my effort into it. Because if you do that and it doesn't work out, then you can live with yourself and move on to the next chapter. But if you don't give it the full, and it's always that what if factor, I think that's just going to eat at you for years to come. Um, so that's kind of really my main thing. And I always now with these podcasts or interviews, anytime I get a chance now, it's kind of trying to tell kids that, obviously there's many ways to affect the game of basketball. It's not just scoring. Because obviously you got the guys that kids look up to, Steph Curry, the Hardens, the John Morants now. Let's go young. Um, and they see the scoring aspect, but there's so many things that you can affect the game from the ones that don't show up in the stat sheet, the assists, the rebounds, the steals, which not only does the professional level looks at, um, but even at the college level, the high school level, and these things you get good at those as well. It's not just scoring. It might give you an inch ahead of the next guy because there's a lot of guys that play this game of basketball.
Well, Ron, I appreciate the time, man. I know how busy it is with the little ones around. We're bouncing back and forth. We're both doing our dad duties, and
I
I'm
know.
glad here in March we were able to carve out some time for each other. Siena's got the MAC tournament coming up. Hopefully the Saints do well. Who knows? Maybe they'll be back to the NCAA tournament. We'll get to talk about some more memories with your alma mater very soon. But enjoy the basketball coming up here in March, and hopefully we'll talk again soon.
No, thank you. Thanks again. Thanks for having me.